Okay, well, welcome back to Master Series Part 2. Thank you for joining me. If you have not watched Master Series Part 1, I'd highly encourage it because it's being taught in layers. Like I'm going from the start of where a new consultant I believe is best to start with and then building on. So, just a little review. Last week, we were talking about the balance, the tension, of personal business and leadership investment in your Mary Kay business and in your leadership. And so I want to ask you to, make sure that you are asking yourself, since I listened to that, what changes have I made in my schedule and in prioritizing my time? Because you guys, if you're listening to these, but then not putting anything into um, work, you're not working it, basically you're a consumer. You're not a student. A student goes to class and learns, and then they're expected to do homework. They're expected to practice it and practice it in a evaluated way that you've been given. You're going to be given how to evaluate your practice. And then you come back and you're a step farther down the line. It's like, okay, that tool is getting better for the toolbox. So circle back around, before you head into what we're going to talk about today on systems, make sure that something has changed with your schedule and your prioritizing. Also, too, a student versus a consumer, a business owner versus an employee. An employee will just show up for a training they're supposed to show up for and not necessarily implement it right away because they don't have ownership of the business. But when you have ownership, this is your business, and that's something that's a necessity, is that you think, you apply, and then we go on to the next lesson. So additional tools for this mastering the personal business and leadership balance. I just posted this on my Facebook fan page, but for people who are listening to the review, soon there will be a section on my website that says Masters, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. So any of the handouts that I talk about that aren't audio or video, which would be on my YouTube, will be there in one place. So a tool that I posted on my fan page when I need to really prioritize my time, which I don't know when you're listening to this. Right now, we're in like the middle of the month. Someone could be listening to this at the beginning. Some could be listening to it at the last day of the month. It's like, all right, we got to prioritize our time. The bigger my goal is and the less time I perceive to have it, I'll go to this little formula that you can see to manage my time. And I literally put it on file cards in my car, my screensaver, on my computer, on my mirror. And it says booking, then it says coaching, then it says personal interviews, then it says follow up with personal, unit recruiting, new people, new consultants in your unit towards their perfect start, power start, pearls, and product, events, customer service, and all else. So when I am in my Mary Kay time, so you turn this off, you're in your Mary Kay time, you don't start at all ounce, you don't start at customer service, you don't start at events, you start at, do I have enough bookings, enough appointments set up that I'm going to be in front of people with the product so that if half cancels, I still reach my month-end goal. And if you don't, you have no business calling back anyone else, looking at Facebook, responding, scrolling, anything. You book. If you have the appointments booked that if half cancel, you have the faces that you need for the sales, for the skincare sets, for the recruiting, then you go down to coaching. Have you coached those parties? And if you've done those, then you go to what personal interviews you have to get set up for your gold medal that we've just been talking about. If that's done, then your recruit follow-up, your personal recruit follow-up, unit recruiting, unit recruit follow-up, new consultants, in that order. Like that, I will just look at that because, and again, when people, use having high energy, having a challenge with ADD, ADHL, like I can guarantee you my whole family probably could be on drugs for all of that. For sure. I've had to learn how to have a list in front of me And if I find myself in the laundry room taking stuff from the washer to the dryer, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm still on number 2. I'm supposed to be coaching these parties. Like, I have no business being in this laundry room right now. So that is a tool that I would encourage you to print off, pull up, post everywhere. If you're at a time in the month or in your business that you feel like, you need to do more than you've done before and you have less time than you feel like you need to get that, it's going to help you prioritize your time and get off the wheel. I picture a little rodent running on a wheel and they're running fast. And in Mary Kay, we could be making money running fast, but we're not going anywhere. Another tool is an accountability checklist. And this is something that when you're working with your team members, when they're being accountable to you with how they're spending their time, that these are the things that I ask my consultants to share with me. And so that accountability checklist, I will have also on my Facebook fan page, but in the future, it will be on my website because that's something that I came up with because you can work with 1 or 2 people with accountability, but not 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. They need to give me this information every single day. I want it Voxer, I want it voice, so it's an accountability checklist. So those are just some resources that also will help support the personal business versus leadership. Because you guys, if we don't do that, none of this other stuff matters. We're talking about systems, but if you don't have that, make that first, that personal business piece and leadership balance off to where you're at now and to look like what you need it to look like to grow to where you're going, all the systems in the world aren't going to make a difference. A resource that's on my website under the director section, the password's Cadillac, is Mary Kay's new director workbook. So when we went to new director education, we were given this workbook. It was like a new consultant guide. And Ari Hathaway, National Sales Director, found it and put it in a PDF. So that's on my website so that you can have that. So as we're going through this master's program, look through. Every time I look through a consultant's guide or this director's guide, I'm like, honestly, people haven't made use of these resources. Otherwise, I wouldn't be having a lot of the conversations that I have. So check that out. And again, on my website, you will find soon a master section with all the resources that coordinate with the 1 through 9 master series. Okay, so this one is on systems. And so I am going to teach this in the order that I give a new director. So these are the systems in the order I think it's most helpful. Obviously, you can mix it up. If you're a seasoned director listening to this, circle back around and see where does the foundation need to be shored up? Because you may have like the 9th system I talk about, but you don't have the first one set up. So, and again, I cannot say it enough that personal activity and systems support each other. Personal activity and leadership support each other. But that personal activity, if you're going to err on one side or the other, err on the leadership side and do the personal activity. Err on the system side and do the personal activity, because in the process of it, you're going to figure it out because you're going to have to. Does that make sense? If you err on the side of the systems or the leadership lean, I've never ever seen it work. Not once. And if I've seen it work, it's not sustainable. There's some people, their warm market and their charisma can make that work for a while, but I have not ever in my career seen that ever be sustainable. And so I won't invest my time into that because that's for sure an exception, not a rule. So it's not personal activity, or systems. It's both. It's not virtual or live. It's both. It's not or, it's and, virtual and in person. It's not sales or recruiting heavy, it's and, sales and recruiting. It's not unit size or moving people up the career path, senior, reds, etc. It's and, unit size and career path. It's unit production and offspring, not unit production or offspring. Does that make sense? Like people, when they put or in there, it's a one-ored Rowboat. Have you ever seen someone try to row an or have you ever tried to row a rowboat? I remember doing that in camp. And if you're doing it like you have one oar and the other person on their side has one and they're just like being slack and not doing it or sightseeing or whatever, you go in circles. And that's what we can do in our business. Some of you may be at a place where you just feel like you're going in circles because maybe you've made something an or that's really supposed to be an and. Okay, so what I have watched with directors that has served new and seasoned directors really well is a willingness to invest in systems for where they're growing to versus where they're at or what they can afford. So that means that what I have seen not work well as far as systems are directors saying that I can't afford it or they're unwilling to set up systems for where they're growing. And so this, you know, playing by the rules of the game, that's one of the 5 things that, you know, I know that if we do well with these 5 things, we're more than likely to reach our goals. Our area is more than likely to be an inner circle. You're more than likely to be a Cadillac director and reach your goals and dreams that you have with your Mary Kay business. One of them is playing by the rules of the game. And Mary Kay Ash, I heard her say my first conference at Leadership Conference, brand new director, get a housekeeper. And she didn't say, what's the square footage of your house? Do you have kids or not? There wasn't any, it was like, it immediately, regardless. And so when you say get a housekeeper and people haven't yet, they're saying something after that. They're saying but. And in our business, oh, we get in so much trouble with those, what comes after the buts. But she said a housekeeper, you know, and so whatever you say after that, she would say regardless, because you're supporting someone else doing their job so that you can do what only you can do. And that's called being a good steward of your time. It doesn't matter if you like cleaning. It doesn't matter if it's just you as a single. It doesn't matter if it's you and your husband and it's a tiny little apartment. You still can use that time to invest into people sharing this product and this opportunity. You pay for it with your Mary Kay income and then your residual income. It makes sense math-wise, financially, energy-wise, but a housekeeper, that's by the rule of the game. I mean, Mary Kay, she just said, you need to go home and get a housekeeper. I went home and got a housekeeper. I didn't grow up with my mom having a housekeeper. That was like foreign to me, but Mary Kay said it and it's like, okay, I'm going to trust her. I'm not going to say, but, you know, I'm going to wait until I make this much money, but, you know, my husband and I can do it. No buts. Housekeeper. Mary Kay also said, get childcare. That's why we don't have kids at meetings. You don't take your kids. It's so interesting to me that people, you know, they'll quit a job that they couldn't take kids to, which is all the jobs, unless we just go through a pandemic and then your kids are there all the time. But people wouldn't go to college for a job that probably pays them way less than a Cadillac director, and they wouldn't expect to take their kids there. But all of a sudden they do their Mary Kay business and then they act like childcare is this big burden and something that, oh, I'm not living with God, family, and career. You guys, that's weird. That doesn't even make sense. Like Satan wants you to believe that. You know, childcare is set so you know when you can do your Mary Kay business. You don't wait to set it up once you have a party scheduled. I've never ever seen that work. It's consistent, it's dependable, and you make the choices just like you did if you had another job. You know, I saw Debbie, my new consultant orientation. I went to her home and I was the only one there. And I'm glad she didn't cancel it because there weren't any other new consultants. Maybe I was the only new consultant that week. She may have done it weekly. I don't really know. But I was there. Taylor Moore was 3. She now has 3 kids and is a Cadillac sales director. But she was 3 years old. I remember the nanny was in the other room. They were baking cookies. Taylor brought out these warm chocolate chip cookies to the dining room table while Debbie was teaching me how to launch my business. You guys, that is embedded in my brain. I'm like, I want that. I want to be able to work and be the mom all at the same time. You know, I look back, my dad was very successful in business. My mom was a housewife. It was that, you know, leave it to beaver, you know, generation. And I wanted both. And that's one of the very attractive things I saw about Mary Kay is that I can be my dad in business and I can be my mom as the homemaker and raising the kids. I can do both. And so the childcare. and playing by the rules of the game. You know, your husband, Mary Kay Ash, these are things that she taught me. And so as directors, we're teaching life skills. The things that I've learned in Mary Kay, honestly, it's the life skills that have made more of an impact on my legacy that I will leave for my kids and my grandkids and their kids than it is the business skills. It's the life skills. Mary Kay said, when a husband takes care of his kids, it's called parenting, not babysitting. And we're going, oh, that's so true. So good. I can't, at that time I didn't have kids. I'm like, I can't wait to have kids because then he gets to parent as much as I do. So, you know, I chose to copy the right cats. Be really careful who you're copying. I copied Mary Kay and Daleen White. She had a housekeeper every day. I'm like, what? Like they clean up the kids' toys from the day before. They, you know, clean up the dishes. They're helping you prep food for the next day. Well, you get to like be in your quiet time, exercise, get your kids ready for school, do stuff for your family. The housekeeper was there every day, just a few hours in the morning. I'm like, that's brilliant. I'd never thought that thought. I mean, maybe I'd seen it in a movie or something, but I just chose to copy the right cats. And so I'm grateful to be able to have the technology to do this, to share with you what I learned from Mary Kay and Daleen and Debbie and Kathy, because these weren't my ideas. Some of the things I share are strategic ideas God gave me, just like He's going to give them to you. But there's some things that are the rules of the game that you don't change. Because when people change all the rules of the game and then change everything that they're doing on the other side, it's not really Mary Kay. And so sometimes when people tell me they're quitting, I'm like, what? I mean, you're not quitting Mary Kay because you haven't been doing Mary Kay. You have not been playing by the rules of the game. So it's under the umbrella. You have Mary Kay products that are exchanging hands and cash, but you're not doing Mary Kay because that's not the Mary Kay that I was taught. So, you know, when I would get to places that I would feel like there's this much time and the goal's this big. Like I'm spending this much time right now to get what I've gotten. To get this much more just seems like there's not enough hours in the day. When I get to those point in time, it generally means I need a new system. I need a system to support so that I can grow into that new system. That's when I go to the Lord and say, if my best isn't good enough, I don't know what else to do. My best is not good enough. I need help, Lord. That's when those strategic ideas come. That's why a system is managing your time with Him so that you can get those strategic ideas. The book, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in part one, but if not, I'm going to mention it or mention it again. The John Bevere, Bevere book on multiplying your God-given potential. There's about 10 books, and I probably get that on my website sometime that I think are pretty mandatory for leadership in Mary Kay. Definitely helpful. They're like your masters in your leadership. This is one of them because it's based on Matthew 25:14 through 30, which is the dollar bill that Mary Kay Ash gave to me when I went to new director training. And so the whole book is based on that. If Mary Kay wrote that in her autobiography and gave that to us who went to her home, I've been asking for 5 years. What did she mean by that? What did she mean by that? This book gave a whole nother level of revelation to that. But I would just ask the Lord, what if my best isn't good enough? What do I have to change? And that's where skincare surveys came from. And that's where new consultant training packet came from. You know, I was like, get the stuff in the starter kit, but it was a perfect start, perfect stop, power start, power stop, pearls, nothing else. Like I didn't know what railroad track other than STAR, the company career path. Like, how do I coach these people through it? A new consultant training packet was what the Lord gave me. I just, updated my new consultant training packet. You all can see my new consultant information that I use as a director for my unit on my website under new consultants. The brand new welcome video, the brand new business inventory decision video, and my training packet is right there. So what I'm going to do is go through, and so I'm going to tell you the list. And then obviously there's lots of resources. I'm not going to tell you a virtual assistant. I'm not going to tell you those things, just like in boot camp. Like, you have to figure out how to get bookings from bookings, but I'm not going to tell you the ways, because if you listen to this 10 years down the line, who knows if these people are going to be in business next month? We have no idea, right? Who knows if this idea is going to be valid enough? But in the virtual world, you have to get bookings from bookings, just like you did in the natural world. So my boot camp is still relevant now as it was back then, which this I pray is going to be the same thing. So I'm not going to give you suggestions for virtual assistants. You guys have access and resources. You can figure that out easily, but I'm going to tell you systems in the order that I think it's important to be set up. And I have seen with my newest directors, the ones who are willing to set these systems up in this order while they do the personal business that's in line with their next car, their new director programs, the amount of income they need to make, whatever it is that is the gas tank for their directorship, setting up the systems to support where they're going while they're doing the activity at the same time. You guys, they're doing Dean's List. They're number one in their class. They're making enough money to leave their jobs. It works. I guarantee you it works. So you just have to decide. I mean, are you going to be coachable to that? Maybe you go back through, just like a new consultant, I would say, go back through the new consultant training packet. A director, go back through this list and let's see what do we have to shore up while you're shoring up your activity. So the number one thing is you earn while they learn. You earn while they learn. So your new unit members, they go to your parties and faces versus you doing their parties and faces. Is there an exception and a time that makes sense to do their parties and initial faces? Can you set that up to be done technologically? So you're doing your own party while that's happening? That's cool. But you need to be earning while they're learning. So always ask yourself, am I earning while they're learning with how I'm investing my time? My skincare class from the very beginning, I had never seen this, but it was always a skincare class for face models because that was earning while they're learning. Instead of them running all over the place to go to a party, now it's easy. They can jump on your virtual parties. Daylene, oh my gosh, if she said it once, she said it a million times. Don't go to a party by yourself. She was a dog with a bone, 5 parties a week, and don't go to a party by yourself with your prospects, your new consultants, your prospective red jackets, people moving up the career path. So my meeting was always a skincare class every single week. That's how guests came. My weekly success meeting, I was making enough money at my weekly success meetings from the sales of the product to pay for my meeting expenses. So whatever venues needed to be rented, your Zoom, your Facebook, your OneStream, any techno things that you're paying for now, any physical things you're paying for, my sales from my 4 meetings a month were designated to pay for that piece of my business. And we're going to have a whole one session on master's program about financial management for directors. This allowed me to keep personal business, and I would suggest directors, it allows you to keep your personal business at least 15 new faces a week. So 15, that's 30, that's 60, that's team 50 at least a month, because that allows you to sell at least $750 in sales, and it allows you to have 5 interviews a week. If you have 5 interviews a week personally, that's your personal business. Like, that's a system, you guys. Having your personal business, 15 to 25 faces a week. 25 is 5 parties. That's Daylene White math. 5 parties a week, 25 faces. That's team 100 a month. That's Daylene White math. I love that this is all. That was a God-given idea, the team 150-30. And then as I sit here, the longer I walk it out, I go, this is still Mary Kay's math. This is just classic Mary Kay's math. 3 plus 3 plus 3 is team 50. It really is. So you're earning while they're learning. Your weekly success meetings, you're making money. You're keeping your personal activity at that minimum 15 new faces, goal 25, so that you have your 750 a week in sales and your at least 5 career chats a week, not crammed into the last week to get it all done then. We need to rechange that rhythm if that has been put in place. Okay, second system, new consultant launches. So getting a new consultant in, we are going to have 2 whole sessions on getting people up and running. But a basic thing is a new consultant training packet. You can look at mine, you can copy and paste it, make up your own, a new consultant training packet. It's on my website under new consultants. Also, how do you welcome people? A welcome video. You need a system to make videos. If you haven't figured out how to make a video that can easily go to other people, look into YouTube, look into BombBomb, look into VibeCloud, whatever it is. You need a system to be able to make videos and send them out and not rely on other people's material. Your people need to hear you welcome them. They need to hear orientation from you. They need to hear inventory from you. You can hear what I've shared that goes to my unit, but they need to hear you. And that's a system for new consultants. Obviously, you're recruiting new consultants, so do it while you're doing orientation, or you may want to wait until you do 10 orientations and then you know what you really want to say. But you guys, getting new consultant system in place that you could have 25 new agreements in a month, and they have the generic information that's delivered to everyone is recorded. Then you can customize the conversation for those who play ball with you. Because if someone's not going to play ball with me, they won't even be there to do an orientation on Zoom or at my meeting or on the phone. Why am I going to spend an hour explaining inventory, an hour going over a training packet, and an hour orientating them to what's available in Mary Kay and the career path and product knowledge and scripts? I want to know. The longer you're in, the more effective you get with your orientations. And so those systems evolve. But a new consultant training packet, your videos, look at what are the things that go out to everyone, so that you're investing your time in the customizing with those who are willing to play ball. Third thing, customer service for you, for your customers. Someone that comes in-house and gets mirrors and trays, setups, roll-up bags, props for QVC, all that stuff, straightened up, reset, inventory, stickered, customer sales tickets put in to my customer immediately. Like, that's more than once a month. That's more than probably once a week, because then you need a virtual assistant that she can be reaching out like 2 days. How was the product? 2 weeks, 2 months. Again, classic Mary Kay. You don't need to do that, but that's good customer service. So in the customer service category, it's your inventory management and your skincare class, selling of the product, management for yourself, so that we are growing your customer base, not compromising customer service while you're going out there and in front of enough faces to find the directors or the nationals. Because remember, your job is to find a director or find a national. Either one. If you don't want to be a national, be a director that finds a national. If you're a national, find national. Obviously, you got to find a lot of directors too. Fourth thing is a place where your unit can share wins, Facebook or Voxer, or maybe both. And you have someone run those things for you. Your assistant can get on Voxer through a computer, and she definitely can get onto your Facebook group. So a place where your unit is recognized and you're communicating with them. Fifth, a virtual assistant. And it could be multiple. I have multiple virtual assistants, because then if one person is sick, something happens in their family, life's going on, my whole business is not unraveling. And so virtual assistants, that they're doing the Facebook parties we talked about, they're handling activity status. You guys listen to this stuff, and you can re-listen to write things down, but I want you to absorb this. A Facebook, a virtual assistant, she does like birthdays and anniversaries. It should include a texting service. I think all directors need a texting service, because I want my people to see things on email, which could be e-cards. I want it texting, and also I have an assistant that makes phone calls for me. I give her scripts. It could be, getting people to events. It could be activity status things. It could be, I'm putting a promotion out this month to, for this pair of earrings just for teas. So she's calling. That could go out in texting and email also. 6, an assistant that does flyers for you and promotions for your unit. 7, that your time management. Time management means that you have to adjust your nighttime schedule for what you need your morning schedule to look like. Because I can back it up and know I had to be on this at 10, I had prep for this, I had Bible study, I had communication. So I knew what time I had to get up at. When I had my kids at home, I knew what time I had to get up at to have time with the Lord, to exercise, to be in the shower and ready to go, to get them up, to have breakfast and lunch being made and dinner prepped. And then I got the lady that helped me cook. And that piece was, that was wonderful. That was thank you. My best isn't good enough. What do I need to do? So what is your time management? so that you can do all the things that you want and need to do in a sustainable manner. Because we can push through month-end goals, we can push through cars, Junes, but you don't live that way. I mean, your adrenaline system can't stand to live that way. You have to set yourself up so it's sustainable. So how do you manage your mornings? 8, also managing your time. How do you do that? What date book do you use? I love a spiral. I love a yellow pad of paper. What works for you? There's not one that works for everyone. So that's part of time management, your date book, your spiral. How do you organize and manage your time and keep track of yourself? 8, tracking. So you're already tracking as a consultant. You were tracking quota sales, quota recruiting, star, right? You're adding on unit size tracking. You're adding on tracking for your next car. You're adding on new director program tracking. And then you're also, as a new director, calling the company every month and asking what your ranking is. Because you may be surprised. That could be very motivating for you. Like, oh my gosh, you're 14 in the nation. You're 3 in your seminar division. That's exciting. That motivates you. 9, we talked about. That's more lifestyle things, housekeeping, cooking, shopping, post office, keeping your car ready to roll, putting gas in it. I've had people help with wrapping Christmas gifts. If it's generic things to shop for, I can have them go out and shop for it. Gosh, there's so many services now with that people shop and drop stuff off for you. And people go, well, I'm going to warm book then. But do you really? Do you really? So you may be better off if you're going to look great and go out warm booking, doing someplace else other than the grocery store and have someone else grocery shop for you. May be more beneficial. I have someone come over while I'm decorating for Christmas, and then she can take it totally down. So I'm doing my Get Your Year in Gear. Christmas leaves my house. Organizing pantries, spice racks, kids' clothes that they've outgrown. A local caterer is super helpful to have, et cetera, et cetera. Those are systems that allow you to grow to where you want to go. And 10, this kind of circles back around, but systems for anything that you repeat, like a weekly success meeting, a particular Zoom, a vendor event, a Hydra session. So you just have bags or files for all those different things. So every time you get to do a vendor event or a bridal show or whatever it is that you do, or honoring working women, you have that tote, you have that basket, you have that file ready to go. You set up systems for anything that you repetitively do in your business. That frees you up, that every single time you do a Christmas display between now and Christmas, you don't have to reinvent it. You have it all set up and ready to go in those 2 totes. So you guys, that is 10 things. I'm going to have Diana type these things out, but probably there's something that jumped to you like, ooh, I got to do that. Just make sure it's not what you want to do, it's what you need to do. Evaluating, and first off, right, is the personal business, because we're not sitting there when people say, all right, I'm just getting all my systems set up, so I'm ready to go November 1st. I get a pit in my stomach anytime people are stopping to put gas in the gas tank, because you're gonna run out of gas. And I don't care how great your systems are, my systems were developed out of need, because I had so many new consultants, I couldn't keep track of them. I earned my first Cadillac 6 months, and they were in Arizona and Georgia, and we didn't have this communication that we have now. And I had little kids. I had a baby, and I had a 24-month-old that never slept through the night till he was 5 or 6. So, and my husband's job was very inflexible as a federal agent. So I was heavy on the work side, so the systems had to come into place. Put yourself in that position that they have to come into place, because you're going to know, all right, I got to figure out something for a system because I need space to grow. So you guys, that you're adding these things on. New directors are looking at from start to finish, adding them in that order I have found works best. And just a reminder of our coaching formula. The bottom of it is you. Next is skills/systems. Next, to the top is target market. Top is numbers. We talked about numbers last week. I'm going to talk about numbers my whole Mary Kay career. But a director when she wants to make a change or is unsatisfied in her business, what I have found is that if she gets done beating herself up and thinking that she's not a good leader because the 10 people in her unit aren't doing anything, and if you gave me those same 10, they wouldn't be doing anything either. They'd be doing less because I'd be talking to them less. So honestly, you get more mileage out of your people than I do because I prioritize my time as a national sales director. And so, but directors, if they get done beating themselves up and they're willing to throw the net back in again, they always go to systems. I need a new training packet. I need a new meeting. I need to do something different. It's a system they shift to, whereas your consultants shift to skill. I need to know more about booking. No, you need to use the scripts and actually talk to people and book someone. Like the list of 20 people, use it. With 20 people, you'll get 10. So with director systems, this is something that's necessary, but also it's easier to go there than it is to change your numbers. But I know that you guys want to grow your business. I know that you want to lead, like Mary Kay said. You lead 3 ways: by example, by example, by example. And, I guarantee you, if you lead that way, this works. And the systems right now, that may seem overwhelming, but it's not. It's just like when you come home from the hospital with your first baby, you're like, I didn't even know like how to give him a bath. Like, what am I supposed to do with him? Thank goodness they had books that told me. But still, I didn't really know. You don't know until then your second baby, if you have one, you know more. Third, moms that have 3, 4, 5, 6 kids, it's like, I mean, this 6th one's running around and they don't even know where they're at, and they're like totally fine with it. I never got to that point. I'm too much of a control person. I could have one kid on one hand, one on the other, or one with that parent, or one with mine, or a nanny that could hold on to both of them. So I never got to that point. God knew, and he was clear when he told me, like, this is your bandwidth. I know what I've called you to, and I know how I've made you. But God knows what he's called you to. He knows how he's made you. And I guarantee you the support systems are out there. And you guys, they'll turn into, I think of the people who've helped me in my home, helped me with my kids, helped me with my business. They're angels. They are angels. Like, they are people that they were sent to help support me. Just like the Proverbs 31 woman. She had lots of people that were called to support her. God wasn't expecting that she did all those things herself. Mary Kay modeled that for us. And so I guarantee you, if you want to be the leader that I know you desire to be, you want to do it the Mary Kay way. And so these are something that hopefully it gives you a roadmap of what you're growing into. Okay, guys, I will see you next week. I'm going to stop this recording. Those who are on live right now, we will have a little bit more time to chat.